Okay, this video was created to share some strategies to successfully deal with stress. So if you're the Dalai Lama and you're just chill all the time, then you don't need to watch this video. But if you're a typical American who has got 53 things going on at any one time, they're text messaging, checking their voicemail, looking on Facebook, trying to run their kids to karate, and then try to get their business to be successful, then you're aware that in our society, we're pretty much set up for a decent amount of stress. Now, what I'm going to do is share some strategies that I have stumbled upon that have helped me, and maybe they'll help you. Now, answer questions. You often feel like, you know, you're not rich enough, you're not smart enough, you're not tall enough, you're not short enough, you're not successful enough, you haven't planned enough for the future. Maybe you're not just good enough for what you're expecting of yourself. Or more importantly, do you find that there's a part of yourself that you keep deep down hidden from everybody else that you just feel like you can't share with everybody else? A part of you that says like, oh my God, I'm having a hard time keeping this all together. I feel like I'm putting on a show for everyone else, but down inside, I'm just barely hanging on by my fingertips. Well, if any of that is you, then you're familiar with stress. I'm going to let you in on a secret. About 15 years ago, I suffered from a stress illness. It's called chronic fatigue syndrome. And it's a long, sad story, which I'll bore you with later. But basically, the wind up of it is that I had to learn to admit that uh, deep down inside, I had some doubts about myself and some concerns, and that I felt like being successful in this modern society was kind of difficult. And I was trying to hide that fact from everybody and try to keep up a brave front. But eventually, that front kind of crumbled. And since then, I've kind of made it my own personal mission to share that fact with other people, to say to them, I was trying to pretend that I had it all together, and looking back, I didn't. And something exciting happened, and I probably shared that secret with, I don't know, dozens, probably hundreds of people, and something really cool has come out of it. And that is, without exception, every person I've ever told it to, if I explained my feelings long enough, they always got this look in their eye, and then they would turn to me and they'd say, "Oh my God, you're right. I feel the same way. I never really thought about it that way. I've always kept it so hidden inside. I never really thought about it, but you're right." And it was a pretty bonding moment with a lot of people. I've had people cry. I've had men cry and just admit, like, oh my God, you're right. I'm working so hard to pretend that I have it all together. And man, I don't. And what a relief it is to share that with someone else. So if you are a person that sometimes feels like modern society expects a lot from you, you got to be like, perfect. You just got to be successful at everything, and you got to be, if you're a guy, 6'3" with muscles everywhere, six pack abs, and you got to be a multimillionaire, and you got to be a rapper, and you got to be, everything. Then if you feel like that's a little difficult, then, welcome to the club. The club called Everybody. Okay, now, came up with an analogy a while ago to help someone understand that there's some good news of all of this, that the problem is not as daunting as you might think. It all depends how you look at it. So I'm going to share with you a certain way to look at life. I like to look at it like, let's pretend that there was a person who had trouble with their eyesight. And I said to that person, well, tell me a little bit about your problem. And they would say, well, can't really drive at night because I have a hard time seeing, and I can't read the street signs, and man, it's terrible. And sometimes if I'm watching TV, I can't really see it very clearly. It's all fuzzy, and I have to move up real close. And sometimes if I'm trying to read the newspaper, I get a headache because I can't see very well. And man, the other day I was walking with my son, and we were walking in the woods, and he was pointing at some squirrel way off in the distance, and like I couldn't even see it. So the person could just go on and on with all these things they have trouble seeing. And if I were trying to be helpful, probably what, if it was a friend of mine, what I'd probably do if I were a typical person is say, well, man, let me help you with some strategies. Okay, you can't drive at night, you can't see too well. Well, you could plan your life better so that you never have to drive at night. You could get all your driving out of the way in the daytime. And all right, let's see, you can't see the TV so well. Well, you could go out and purchase a really expensive giant TV, and then you could get your couch and slide it over across the room so you're a foot away from the TV. And then, man, between the size of the TV and how close you are, you'd be able to see better. And man, maybe you could. And I could go through one at a time and help the person come up with a strategy to deal with all of these symptoms. And they're endless. Or I could help them identify their problem. They need glasses. And basically, if I help them find an optometrist to help them get the right glasses, then all of their problems will instantly go away. I won't have to spend the rest of my life helping them design strategies to deal with their problem, because actually it was the symptoms of their problem. Once I help them identify the problem, then boom, a solution is easy. And basically, life works a lot the same way. If you can get crystal clear on what the problem is, then you can find a solution. The problem is we as humans tend to spend all our time focusing on the symptoms. Oh, I can't see at night. Oh, I can't see when I'm walking through the woods. Instead of trying to figure out what is my actual problem and then solving it. Now, going to cut this off right now. This is going to be the end of part one. If this is helpful at all, you might want to go to part two. It'll be on the same YouTube account. You just click on the one that says Strategies for Stress Part 2. Thanks.